Hi, my name is John Barr, and I'm here to show you how to manipulate clay, super mud on electric wheel, and we'll explain a little bit about the wheel head, some of the basic names of the parts, and then we'll go to the demonstration. This is a Brent CXC. It's a powerful machine. Kind of heavy. It's a two-man project moving them. It's got your control pedal, control speed, hooked to a rheostat. There's a splash guard that comes with this machine. But since I altered these pins right here that hold the bat in place, I can't put this on here because the pin's too long. It's going to scratch it. So it's okay because I don't use much water when I throw, and what you'll be witnessing today is a fairly dry method of throwing, which makes it really helpful to learn to throw as dry as possible so that you don't wet the clay during the throwing process, which makes it slump and uncontrollable. Okay, so this is a bat. I made these myself out of plexiglass. I like this clear plexi because later in the pottery process, when you flip the pot over to trim the foot, you can see through. You can see through to these rings on here, these concentric rings, which help you center, know when you're centered. This is all about being centered. So there's many ways to make these. Here's a sink cutout. So you take the particle board, sink cutout. It's got Formica glue to it. This makes a great surface for the clay to adhere to. Make a template, fit the holes, drill the holes. Anymore, you can usually get these sink cutouts free if you have a carpenter friend of some type. Sometimes cabinet shops will sell them to you for just $1 or $2 just because they hate throwing them away. It's a cheap way to go. Here's a commercially produced bat. These are $12 to $15 a piece. You need tons of them. I don't really like them because they don't completely span the wheel head. There's not much to pick up on here, so when you're trying to pull this off later, it's hard to get them off, and they're expensive. These are Masonite, very cheap and inexpensive to make, but they warp, and even if you seal them with varnish or something, they just warp. So to use these, you're usually making something small, and you're doing something rapid and fast that you don't, for whatever reason, you want to be able to stack them fast. If you wet these a little bit in time, a little bit ahead of time, they'll go back to kind of flat. See, it's shrunk so much that the holes don't fit anymore. I don't use them often. I have about 25 or 30 of these. I like these. So you put your bat on, make sure it's flat, make sure there's no debris underneath here. Flips on. You can still see your concentric rings that are manufactured into the wheel head. Flexi. Okay, so we're here to show you how to center, open, and pull, and if we have time, shape a 25-pound ball. Now, I learned from still pictures before the age of video. There weren't much in the way of demonstrations around, and the only way you could pretty much learn how to throw pots was through books. So anyway, there was this picture of this woman who was a 60 or 70-year-old Japanese woman, and she was throwing a 75-pound ball of clay. It was mind-boggling to me because even as an 18 or 17-year-old construction worker, a 4-pound ball of clay was kicking my butt all over the wheel head. So what I'm going to show you is a way to throw any size ball of clay, but particularly large ones, without having to be a brute. So I'm going to round this bottom a little bit. Oh, quick. The bat right now is kind of dry. A small amount of moisture. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the controller. I keep my foot pedal up here. In a lot of ways, I just soon have a lever, first, second, and third. You don't really need all these different speeds. But sometimes when you, well, we'll go into that. So, but anyway, I keep it up here because if you keep it on the floor and use your foot, if you have your foot on it while you're working, it's very easy to accidentally go like that, and centrifugal force is not your friend. So very lightly, I just wet this surface and then dry it. That leaves a thin moisture film that facilitates the adhesion of the clay ball to the wheel head. So, got this nice rounded bottom with no dimples in it that might catch air and end up causing grief in the foot trimming process. And just a light tap into the center, as close as you can get it. Okay, now I see I'm to the north here, ½ inch. I'm just going to slide this back. Doesn't want to go too much, but there she goes. Now that's stuck pretty good, but you know, the pressure of centering is going to fasten it even better onto the wheel head, and you will be able to pick this up and turn it upside down as a thrown pot, and it'll stick unless you leave it on there for 3 to 4 days, and then it might fall off. So, pottery is about being centered. It's all about power and locking in. You got to keep your elbows, it's kind of uncomfortable. You need to keep your elbows stuck into your stomach. Your legs are a power point, like this, and you can lock in and push. The whole thing is getting centered. How do you do that? If you're a student of ceramics and trying to get that 12-inch cylinder for your teacher to get that first semester A, here's how you do it. In the beginning of this run, all we're doing is trying to take these anomalies out of the ball. So we're going to just slightly wet it and just ride at a slow speed around and just generally get it into a roundish ball. If you were to try to do this at a higher speed right now, it would beat you up pretty good. So now we're going to crank up the speed a little. Dip the sponge. I keep the sponge in my palm, and I now have a reservoir of water that I can release at different speeds during the throwing until I'm out. So now I tend to throw over the pot because, as you can see, your arms pivot like this. That's like a compass. But if you pull up like this, you go straight up and down automatically. You don't deviate from vertical. So if you're out here trying to throw a pot like this, with your arms flapping in the wind like a chicken, you're gonna mess it up. So here we go. I start at the bottom, and I'm not using a lot of power, slowly releasing water. There's my first run. I'm trying to center the inside and the outside of the pot, of the ball of clay. Start at the bottom. These ramps you need to get all the way to the wheel head, get your fingernail down in there and pull, squeeze. My left hand is smoothing what my right hand is doing. all the power's coming